All right, guys, good morning. It's Gordon here with 603 Properties, and I'm here with my buddy Jack Pinard here with Summit Real Estate Group. I wanted to touch base with you all. We recently finished doing a transaction together at this house that we're in here in Nashua, New Hampshire, okay? And the reason why we really wanted to shoot this was because we get the question all the time from people in regards to, like, how are you guys out there finding these properties? How is it that you do what you do? And all that, right? Right now in the climate in today's market in 2022, it's very hard for just anybody to find a home for their family right now. And we're out here finding these homes that obviously need a little bit of work that we're buying them, right? But what we're really out here doing is what we're really doing out here is we are solving sellers' problems. And that's how we're really able to get into these homes, okay? We definitely do it a non-traditional way. All right, and the reason why I wanted to bring Jack on here is because he was the one that started out this whole entire process back in, when did you first start this one, Jack?
Before Thanksgiving of 21.
Before Thanksgiving of 21. So yeah. About 18 months almost it took us to get here, right?
No, 21. So 6, 7
Okay,
months,
21. Sorry, I'm thinking 2020. Yeah, there you go. See? That's why I'm in real estate, because I'm terrible at math. I can't figure any of that stuff out. So that's good. So I wanted Jack to give you a quick breakdown of like where he found this property and like what sort of marketing that you do for it, the seller, what sort of problem that you solve for them, and just kind of give us any information that you really want to share with us.
Sure.
Okay.
So this seller came to me through a Facebook ad.
Yeah.
We've been running those for quite a while. And essentially the message is that if you've got a property that can't just be listed, give us a call, see what we can do to help solve that problem. So the wife of a couple, answered that ad on Facebook. I came over to meet her. It was obvious from the minute I pulled up front that there were all kinds of problems here. Mm-hmm. And then within a half an hour of speaking with her, finding out that her husband had been gravely ill for some time, had been sick for a couple of years prior to that, so had stopped doing any maintenance of any kind. She's got bad knees, so she wasn't doing anything either. Mm-hmm. So not only was the house deteriorating, there was a couple of leaks and other things that were causing problems, but he was a bit of a pack rat, and so the house was the house was just packed, right? As you know.
Absolutely.
So the first conversation ended up being 3 hours, and it was much more about what her scenario was right now, where she could potentially solve these problems. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I had to kind of unravel all that in my brain and say, all right, well, what exactly can we do to help? And like you said, we're solving problems. It's less about the property and more about what can we do to help these people out.
Absolutely.
So we had a number of conversations. The first few, she was really still so overwhelmed by the fact that she was now taking care of all the finances, which her husband had done traditionally throughout their whole married life.
Now, was he still living in the house at that time, or was
he had already been, when I met them, he had already been hospitalized for 4 months.
Okay, so he was already in the hospital for 4 months, and so then that's when she reached out to you. Okay.
Right, yeah, and what really pushed her, I think, to answer one of our ads was she got a letter from her mortgage company saying they were 8 months in arrears on their mortgage.
So she was 8 months in arrears and she had no idea?
She had no idea.
Okay.
She until she got that letter, she didn't even know who the mortgage company was on the property.
Okay.
Because he had been taking care of all that.
Okay, and I'm going to stop you right there real quick because I just want to go over this really quickly. Okay, so the initial contact was that you actually had a Facebook ad that you put out there, right?
Yep.
So on a Facebook ad, that's a paid advertisement panel, exchange that you do on Facebook itself.
Yeah.
And was it a video that you shot? Was it a static ad where it just said like, we buy ugly houses? What was it that you had?
It was a static ad.
Static ad.
Yeah.
Okay.
With, on a variation of we buy ugly houses.
Yep.
It was basically if your house has mortgage problems, if your house needs repairs, and you can't list it traditionally, we're an answer for you.
And we can't use the "we buy ugly houses" wording, just so you know as well, because
Right.
that's trademarked.
Yeah.
Somebody else has that one trademarked, just so you all know.
We buy funky houses.
Yeah. We can help. We buy houses with cash, whatever you want to do on that one. But make sure you don't use that one. That is trademark protected. But so she protected on that, and then she reached out because she didn't even know she was 8 months in arrears.
She had no idea. So one of the first problems we solved for her was to get her to understand exactly what that mortgage situation was, and how she could possibly take care of that at some point.
Okay.
In addition, right around that same time, she found out the electric bill hadn't been paid in almost a year, and
The lights were still on?
well, yeah, it was winter, right? So they can't. By law, can they not do that?
And the utility companies can't shut stuff off in the wintertime.
Right.
Okay.
So immediately we just sort of talked about what she had coming in for money, and tried to pass it out so that she could get the utilities up to date and all those things. And then I encouraged her to talk to the mortgage company, let them know that she probably was going to sell the house, and get them to know that she's aware of it, she wants to solve it, so that they wouldn't accelerate a foreclosure process and take it over from her. So she did all of those things, and then because her husband was still very ill, we went back and forth for a while. She wasn't quite sure if she should jump and sell or whatever. So we just mainly stayed in touch. She got sick. I brought her chicken soup one day.
Of course you did.
She called me up one day and said the house is full of smoke because she ran out of oil, and she put the fireplace on, and it backed up into the house.
The flue wasn't open.
The flue wasn't open.
Yeah, okay.
So there was all kinds of problems like that as we went through this process. And like I said, I did my best to sort of say, stay calm, don't panic. We can get through these things. And then finally, at some point, once her husband's condition was stabilized, she said, I really do need to move.
Yeah. Okay.
And that, by that time, we were almost 4 months in. We were pals. She was calling me a couple times a week. And so by the time she actually came to sign a purchase and sale agreement, there wasn't even really a conversation. It was like, she was just like, okay, we got to do this. I know I have to do it. Here we go.
Absolutely.
So it was very much a focus on taking that giant funnel of problems and just slowly kind of, moving her through them and getting her calm about them and understanding that we're solving them and chipping away at them.
Absolutely. And you were there for her the whole entire time. Like she ran out of oil, she contacted you. She
Right.
was sick, she contacted you.
Right.
She didn't have anybody else that was helping her out or taking care of her at all.
Yeah, and she has bad knees and she doesn't drive, so she was very isolated.
Yeah. She's a really sweet lady too.
Yeah,
she's
she's
a really
a beautiful
sweet lady.
lady.
I met
love
her
her.
a couple times too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so now what I want to go back to the part of where you got the initial lead that came in, right?
Yeah.
And then you call her. Was that an instant connection that you had, or did you have to follow up with her before you guys actually got in front of each other? Like how did that unfold before you even got in front of her?
So the way our leads come in, I'm made aware right away that a lead has come.
Yeah.
And so I think it was later in the evening. So I called her the next day. I talked to her probably 2 days, came over like 2 days later. And as I mentioned, that first conversation was 3 hours.
Yeah. So that process went really quick then.
Yeah.
So really, and it doesn't normally always happen that way, where you do have to normally follow up with people and make sure that you're staying in front of them and saying, hey, I'm here to help you if you need help.
Absolutely.
But this was a little bit different of a circumstance.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Most of the leads I get from that type of ad, there's very few people that are just like, okay, take action right now. They're looking for information. They're kind of weighing their options, that sort of thing. And you do follow them for some time, helping them. But in her case, she was, wow, this is really freaking going crazy. I need help right now. And so, in that case, we were here right away and moving forward. But there was a lot of follow-up in the sense that from when I met her till the point where she finally decided that she needed to sell the house, it was probably 3 months' time with numerous meetings, conversations, texts, phone calls, visits,
and
all
right.
that stuff.
Yeah. And now I remember also during the process, because we were kind of talking with each other back and forth about a couple things, and you had brought it to our attention that you were concerned with the figuring out the after repair value for the home,
right,
as well as the rehab cost of the home. Right.
Yes.
So there was a little bit of concern with that.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons I was hesitant to jump because the house is very tiny. It's 1,000 square feet.
Yep.
Very few things like it in Nashua. So it was tricky for me to say, definitively this is what my ARV is going to be, which is where you came in and, was a big part of helping me do that. So that was a piece where I definitely did need some outside opinion from somebody who's done Nashua properties and done comping more than I have. And once we established that ARV, it was obvious that there was going to be enough room to buy it for cash, get it repaired, and move forward from there.
And she had gotten another offer from another investor as well, correct?
Right.
And they had actually even offered her, I think, a little bit higher than you ended up getting it under contract for.
Right. Yeah. An interesting story there, which is a point that people might want to know. So it actually was the We Buy Funky guys.
Yeah.
And they gave her a little bit more money, but they wanted her to sign a contract on the day they visited. And they called her 3 or 4 days later and said, I'm coming over so that you can sign. And she just got completely turned off by that. She was not ready for that. She needed much more help, much more hand-holding to move through her problems so that she could get her problems solved, find a place to live, and then move on.
Yeah, she needed to be a little bit more massaged, really, right? So she needed
Absolutely.
to feel comfortable with who she was dealing with.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't like a pressure sales, like, hey, we need you to sign here or else we're going to be walking and all that stuff.
Right.
Which is a tactic that some people use, and it is effective for some people as well. But it's always, you have to read the room, they call it, right? And you have to find out what an actual seller needs and what is going to be their best situation, right? This game isn't, I shouldn't even call it a game, but this business isn't really about, the money you can make, even though it's glamorized as all this big bucks that you can make, really.
Yeah.
It's all about the people that you can help, the impact that you can make in lives, right? That's really what makes me so excited about getting up and doing this business every single day.
Yeah.
And just thinking about all the things that you've been able to help her with before you even had it under contract.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Was just life-saving no matter what.
Yeah, and it was interesting, the read the room idea. It was very interesting to hear her reaction to that other sales approach, which completely turned her off. And it just doesn't make any sense to me. You absolutely need to read the room. You absolutely need to figure out, how am I helping this person? How can I get them to move from A to B? And I ask them a lot of times, when I speak to people, I say, a line that I've stolen over the years, I say, if you could wave a magic wand and you wanted to move on, what would your scenario be?
Absolutely.
And that's beautiful because then you can get a very clear picture of where they're at, where they want to go, and how you can get them there. What things you can do to move them in that direction. And it's much more about the relationship than it is about the property.
Yeah. Absolutely. Without a doubt. And
yeah.
those are the most satisfying ones. And like you said, that question is an open-ended question too.
Right.
So your job is to make sure that you're letting the seller talk and that you're listening, right? You want them to talk a lot more so that you can actually find out what the problem is that you need to solve. Let's be honest. People have up all these walls and barriers. They don't want to just open up,
of course,
right? And just give you, I got this going on, I got this going on.
Right.
You literally got to ask the right questions and get them feeling comfortable around you,
right?
And really finding out what the situation is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's always great. And then so after you got the contract signed, everything was hunky dory. There was no other problems right the rest of the way, right?
Yeah. I mean, she still needed to find a place to live.
Oh, right.
Right.
There's that little thing that has to happen too. Right.
And so. I gave her some help with that. I had an idea of what her finances were, so I started looking in the area to see what would be a good fit for her. And we talked about how much cash she would have after the property was sold, so that she could have an idea of exactly what she could do to spread that cash over a long period of time and give her a standard of living that she wanted to have. So we kind of did all of that as well. So luckily, it didn't take her all that long. She knew she wanted to stay in the area near the house because she's got some good friends right around here. So she ended up renting a property, only a few miles away. And from there, it was pretty much smooth sailing.
Once you found a place.
Yeah, once she found a place, it was like, okay, this is the day we can close. Let's see what we can do. And so it worked out pretty well from that point. Her husband's still in the hospital, still had some issues, but in general, she transformed from somebody who was going to stay here for the rest of her life to somebody who said, that might have been good, but I really can't, to somebody who said, if I solve all these problems and live someplace else, my life is going to be that much better. So over a period of months, she transformed in that way and mentally decided it was time to move away from the property.
Which is very common too. And they lived there for what, 30 years almost?
Yeah, almost 30. Yeah.
Almost 30 years. So it's hard to move from a house that you've been in for 30 years.
Right. You've got all those memories with kids and the neighbors. She's got long-term relationships with some of the neighbors. So it's a process that the seller, the property owner has to go through. They're not always ready to just cut bait and run, right? They have to decide, all right, I am moving on. And I try to tell people, look, you have problems, but we can solve those. And the next chapter in your life can be that much better without those problems.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I try to get them to understand that there is a next chapter. There are things that they can move towards and get, be happy with. So
you didn't think you were going to be a guidance counselor, did you? When you
I'll tell you, this one was really, really instructive.
Right. Yeah.
Luckily, throughout my life, between parents and in-laws and things, I've had some other people in my lives with similar problems. So it was easy for me to relate to how she was, and I've used my life experiences to kind of help, which I think was a real positive. But again, what I really realized in this one was it honestly is all about, once you have a situation with a woman like that, it's more about solving those problems, and the house is the secondary piece of it. Of course, in the end, you're trying to move to a situation where it's going to be a win for you and a win for her, which is what we did in the end. We got it at a price that made sense, so that fixing it up and reselling it would make sense and be a profitable situation. But she has now a good chunk of cash to keep her living a lifestyle that she wants to live.
Absolutely. And you, so this, I'll transition here to where there's so many different aspects of real estate and how we can actually monetize these things, right?
Yeah.
So now, what you did with this property is what? What did you do with it once you got under contract? What was that process?
Yeah. So once I had it under contract, because we had been talking about it, you had a little bit of familiarity with it. I decided that I would be better served, as opposed to fixing it and flipping it myself. I decided I'd be better served to wholesale it, because I had been having some success with the Facebook ads and that stuff. I wanted to take some capital, reinvest that so that I can grow the business.
Okay. And for everybody that's watching here, so wholesaling is a part of real estate that people do all the time. A lot of people, when they first start working inside of being a real estate investor, do wholesaling, right? So it really takes very low capital to wholesale a property. What you do is exactly what Jack is doing. This is called wholesaling a property. He's putting out there, he's advertising, waiting for people to raise their hand saying, I need help. And then he's meeting with the seller, he's helping solve their solution, right? He's getting it under contract for a price, and then he's assigning that contract over to someone else, which in this case was me, for a fee, right? And you make a fee off of that, and you make the difference, right?
Yep.
And that's called wholesaling a contract, and that's where he was able to get paid out, and then we ended up closing the contract on it ourselves. We are taking it on, fixing and flipping it up, and then we're going to turn around and sell it to an end buyer.
Right. Once you have a property under contract, you have a vested interest in that property, and you can sell that interest to somebody else. And so part of the process is to figure out what exactly somebody fixing and flipping it would need in terms of costs to get it done and flipped, and then you put your piece, your wholesale fee with that. So I basically took the contract, sold my interest in the contract for cash, and I plan to do that again on a number of occasions because I've set some goals this year to ramp myself up in terms of transactions, and the best way for me to do that is take a smaller amount of capital, reinvest it in advertising, and move forward from there.
With it. Yeah, absolutely. And you had actually come to me and said, "Hey, where do you need to buy this Where do you need to buy this from for this to work for you?" Right? And so I came over, we walked the property, I looked at it, we figured out a rehab budget. We were pretty much on anyways, just because we had talked about it outside before we had even come here.
Yeah.
I just wanted to walk the property really quick, get a better feel for it, see what we were getting ourselves into.
Yeah.
And I said, "Hey, this is where I need to buy it for," and you got it for a little bit less, which was your assignment fee that you put on top of that.
Exactly.
And then I ended up buying it. And you ended up getting paid out at the closing table, that assignment fee when we purchased the building.
Yep.
Okay.
Which is awesome, and the money is already buying new ads.
That's right. Buying new ads, and we got another one already locked up and all that stuff, and you got all sorts of stuff going out there. You got other leads that are already coming in from it, and everything.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. I mean, so my thing that I love about real estate the most is the amount of people that are impacted by this one transaction.
Phenomenal.
Every single transaction just generates so much other opportunities for people, and we help everybody else along the way.
Yeah.
Like, I look at it as we not only stopped the foreclosure for her, right? She was 8 months behind. We stopped the foreclosure. She ended up, her and her husband ended up walking away with money, right? So they
a
could
good chunk,
a good chunk of money at the end, right?
Yeah.
So they could start a whole new life together, right? So they were taken care of. You were able to get an assignment fee for the whole entire thing.
Right.
You're able to take that money so you can say, "Hey, I'm out here," right? These sellers don't know we're out here doing this unless we let them know we're out here doing this.
Exactly.
Right? So we have to market to these people, and there's so many people out there that need help from us to do this.
Right.
So you're able to make some money off of that. Take that money, either pay bills, advertise more like you're doing, right?
Yeah.
And helping other sellers off that whole entire thing.
Exactly.
We took the property over, right? So I look at it as like we bought the property through a private lender, so the private lender is making money off of us as well, right?
Yeah.
And the attorneys, title companies that we used, they were able to make money off of it.
Yeah.
They were also able, their employees that they hired to take care of it, right? Now we have people in here. We're paying them every single day
So the
to work here.
contractors have
So
jobs.
the contractors have jobs. The plumbers, the demo people, the electricians, the painters, the roofers, the siding, all of those people are going to be able to put food on their table, really,
Yeah,
and pay
exactly.
their bills
Yeah.
because of this one transaction that's happening.
Right.
And that's like what really, when I start thinking about that, I'm like, this is awesome. I love being able to do this stuff.
And the other piece that is that in the end, the house, which was looking kind of beat up, and
I mean, it still looks kind of beat up. I don't
right.
know if you looked around.
But I mean, you drive down the street and you see this house, and it wasn't a pretty looking house.
Right.
In the end, you're revitalizing this piece of that neighborhood.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
So you're putting a neighborhood in Nashua back into its best use, which is awesome. So like you said, from the beginning, there's a whole stream. Is just arms everywhere of people that are benefiting from that one transaction.
Mm-hmm.
So
and then in the end, there's going to be, when we get it on here, when we put it on the market to sell it, the real estate agent's going to make a commission off it. There's going to be a mortgage broker that's going to make a commission off it. There's going to be another title company that's going to make a commission off of it.
Right.
All that. And then in the end game, there's going to be a family that's going to move into this home, and they're going to grow their family right here where we're standing right now.
they've got a yard. They're going to, and
It's a great lot. It's a great dead-end street in Nashua, New Hampshire. It's right off of Route 3, so it's just a perfect spot.
Yeah, and so those people are going to move in. They're going to need property insurance. They're going to get into the Nashua school system. They're going to integrate themselves in that neighborhood and just move it forward.
It's just it's infinite. It just keeps on going. It just flows.
I love that part of it.
It's an unbelievable thing. It
Yeah.
really is. It's cool. So that's awesome. All right. And so really, guys, that's all we got going on here today. I just wanted to really touch base about all this stuff that's going on for this one transaction, how Jack was able to get in front of these people, how he was able to close the deal, how he was able to partner up with us, help him get it through the finish line, close the whole entire process, and now we're here rehabbing the whole entire thing, and it's going to turn into a beautiful thing when it's all said and done, all right? So listen, if you guys know of anybody that needs to sell their house fast, give Jack a call. He's there. He's going to help him. I guarantee you he's going to be there and help him, okay? Yeah. So, Jack, any parting words you want to say before we get out of here?
No, just, you know, it's a long process. You need to educate yourself. You need to understand that it's not HGTV where everything is solved in a half an hour.
You're kidding me.
But in the end, like Gordon has said and laid out, it's an incredibly rewarding situation.
It really is.
And this woman, I'm actually friends with her now,
yeah,
which is just crazy to me because, you know, out of the blue, I've got another friend, another person that, you know, is in my sphere, and I love it. So just if you're coming into it, do it for the long run, do it for the right reasons where you're helping people, and you're bound to have success.
Is there any reason why anybody couldn't do this?
Probably not. I mean, if you have some people skills, it's not a real estate business, it's a people business.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So if you have people skills or can learn people skills, you can do it.
And even if you don't have people skills, what you do is you find someone that does have people skills, and you take your skills and you are behind the scenes taking care of all the stuff that's on the behind the scenes stuff that needs to get done, right?
Yeah.
And you partner up with someone that has those people skills and let that person go out there and meet with the seller. So there's really no excuse that you can't do this. If you need money, I don't care. You can do this with zero money. Trust me, I had zero money when I first started and my credit score was like in the 400s.
Yeah.
So you can absolutely do this without a doubt.
Right.
There's nothing holding you back except for this little thing that you have up here.
Yeah.
That's holding you back. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's another point, that's probably part 2 of this, is that whatever you need to get the process done, you can always team up with somebody. You don't have to be a one-man band. And man, once I understood that, and you know, Gordon was a big piece of that, once I understood that, the wheels started rolling and you just accelerate your success.
Yeah, yeah, and it's been awesome. It's been a great experience for me. I'm glad that you brought me in on it.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. And then we got another one that we're working on right now that's going to close sometime in June, hopefully, right? Everything seems to be streaming along on that front as well.
Yeah.
In another great town in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
So things are going great.
Yeah.
I like it.
He's a great guy to work with. Hang out with him.
Hang out with me. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I'm always welcome. So is there a way, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
So we have a website, summitbuyshouses.com. There's always that. And the best phone number to reach me at is 978-744-0009. And I won't give you my email, but maybe they'll put it on the screen.
Yeah, right. Why not? Maybe down below here there's something. Who knows? Who knows? We'll see what we can do. All right, cool. Thanks, guys, for taking a minute and checking this out. We'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, guys.